Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to order. Thanks all of you for coming. We will not, as we generally do, call the roll. I'll just ask the secretary if she'll make sure she makes note of who is here, and that'll be a great thing. Can I have a motion to approve last month's minutes? Okay, there's been a motion. We do not need it. And even in the bylaws, I realize we don't need a second for stuff. But anyway, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Alice, you have the director's report, please, ma'am.
Yes, so I wanted to let you know, after 30 years of glorious service with us, Lynn Pegg will be retiring. Her last day will be the last day of this month here in May. The position that Lynn is vacating will be re-advertised. It actually is currently, we have an advertisement up right now. It's a Recreation Operations Manager position with the Parks Department. And so that will be advertised, and we'll look for a July 1st start date from that position moving forward. So we will be moving forward with another recreation position. But I think we all know that Lynn is an amazing asset to the department that we will dearly miss and will not let go of. I know where she lives, so we will see her at future events, hopefully.
Sure.
Also want to make you aware, we're in our final rounds of budget. There was a budget retreat and meeting last week with the Board of Commission. Moving forward, it is going to be a difficult year. However, there are some things in the budget that are currently remaining. We're hoping to be moving solidly forward. We will be moving solidly forward with the Anchor Recreation Destination with the field project, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later on. And so we're excited that that large project remains moving forward in the budget. So excited about that. And then I think the last thing that I wanted to just let folks know is in the interim, we'll have about a month and a half where we will have different staff members that will be covering different aspects of operations until we do get another person hired. So we'll be kind of, you'll be seeing people in different roles taking up new pieces of operations and such. And Adam Zinke will become the main contact for the advisory board moving forward. You should be getting emails and such for him. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. We have a lot of projects that are happening. But that's coming later in the report, and so that's all that I have for now. We can go to the next.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll go to Thomas for Greenway report.
Yeah, so not a huge amount of movement on greenways since the last time we met, but for the Inca Heritage Trail, we did finally receive our official approval to move forward with design on the new termini of that project. So we're having recurring meetings and our team is moving forward with design on that project with a hope of being able to submit our first submittal to NCDOT on the alignment of that and sometime in September. So that would be a 25% design submittal in September for the Inca Heritage Trail. Pretty excited that that is all moving forward again. And then on the Woodland Greenway, so we have the two sections, the Highway 251 section, which we're still working through the issue at MSD. We do have a date on the calendar now to get in front of MSD and talk about kind of proposed alignments to the parking lot. Since we met last, we did actually meet with the Craggy Mountain Rail Line just to get their approval because we are encroaching on their right of way a little bit in one particular pinch point. And they approved kind of what we're doing. They just wanted some design considerations, but we're working with them on that and looking to move forward on that particular section. On the Beaver Dam Creek section, we're making like a lot of progress pretty fast on that section. So as you may or may not recall, we've only been under contract with Equinox as a prime since the beginning of this year, and they've actually already submitted their 25% design alignment to NCDOT. And we've actually already received our first round of comments back from NCDOT on that particular section. So moving along quite nicely with that. That's all I have for greenways. I can go ahead and transition into master plan. So for the master plan, we just recently had our third community meeting, which was a greenways focused community meeting. There was a good turnout for that. We had it just across the street here at Inca.
Coons Intermediate.
Coons Intermediate, sorry, Coons Intermediate. It was kind of a cool event because Rob Denton with Connect Inca actually came out to our last community meeting, so it got the wheels turning about like, hey, maybe we can invite some of our kind of partner organizations with greenways so that they can be present, have a table at the meeting. So we did that. Had and forgive me if I miss anyone here, but we had fans, the Friends and Neighbors of Swannanoa came out, Connect Buncombe came out. Pisgah Sorba also came out. And I think that was
The county.
The county tried,
With
the county had a table about their master plan.
That's what Max was there.
So the strategy and innovation with the county was there as well. So yeah, it was a good event. We had some turnout, you know, a lot of the usual suspects, but also some new faces were present in the crowd as well. We got talking through some different projects, kind of introduced Ferry Road as a greenway project that's happening in the community. I'll let Joseph kind of talk about that here in a second, but yeah, so that, and you know, there's a lot of momentum right now with the county with greenways and trails, so looking to just capitalize on that and keep it moving forward. Master planning wise, we're really gonna start transitioning from kind of this like information seeking, the community engagement, the public engagement kind of phase of the master planning project. And we're really gonna turn into kind of slowly transition into that kind of analysis and kind of a first blush of, well, taking all of that information, here's what we see, here's some of the things that we've seen, and then representing that to the public to see if that's kind of an accurate picture. If you haven't yet taken the online survey, please do so. We're looking to close that probably mid-June. So mid to late June, that will be closed. There will be other opportunities to provide input, but as far as the online survey goes, that would be closed. They're also wrapping up the statistically valid survey for that effort. It's been going out to random houses throughout the county for about a month or so now. And they're getting pretty close to having enough responses back from that they can close that out. So everything's moving along quite nicely with that. But yeah, once we have some more dates in hand to present some of the findings and stuff like that, we'll let you know as soon as we have those dates, but it probably be well into the summer, late summer before we have another kind of outreach for that.
Could you give us a heads up on the comments that you're getting, what is overwhelming, positive or negative?
I think for me, it's just like the overwhelming demand for facilities is kind of the general kind of response. And it's not necessarily concentrated in one thing. It's like,
Just like give them.
yeah, it's like we want baseball fields. We also want greenways, you know, it's like kind of all over the board, but they just want more of it. Pickleball, disc golf, everything, you know, like, so, yeah, I mean, Carol hinted at it earlier, but it's just like, that's gonna be the challenge, right? It's like, there's all this demand, but we have the budget that we have. So the prioritization is gonna be huge. And then, yeah, just being able to seek outside funding for some of these projects is gonna be huge as well. So, and the master plans will help us do that.
One thing you'll find out, and it's all the work through Buncombe County, know that if you ask them, they will tell you. And they have told, having been to the meetings, the community meetings that these folks have had, the turnout's been terrific. The ideas have been terrific, the engagement, it's absolutely outstanding how people want to be involved in what this department's doing. In my opinion, all of a sudden, this department is rising to the surface. of what everybody's interested in Buncombe County. And I do not say that lightly, because I've seen it ebb and flow, what people are interested in. But right now, it's parks, it's greenways, it's, like after the meeting the other night, I rode through Lake Julian. It is absolute, I'm gonna use the word amazing again. It's absolutely amazing the number of people who were there taking part in what was happening at Lake Julian, where they were fishing on the pontoon boats, on the, their children on the new playground equipment. This department is touching every aspect of our county, and I think all of a sudden people, Mr. Stanley takes his mobile unit out to some of these places where the people can't get into the regular parks. I mean, it's amazing the way this department has developed. I could not be more proud. I mean, it really is amazing. I'm gonna say that again. It's amazing.
Is this considered a core service, Parks and Recreation?
And
Would Parks and Recreation be considered a core service?
not by everybody. Yeah, I would say it's a core service. I say libraries are a core service, but they're not anything that has to be funded by Buncombe County. Core services, health, education,
Right,
emergency management.
but it seems like with all the enthusiasm that.
Yeah, and that's why,
Considering it to be.
that is why, y'all, whether you're on the advisory board or a member of this fine staff, you need to be in contact with your county commissioners and your county leaders to say what you're hearing when you come to these meetings and when you get together. So important. If you don't tell them, they won't know.
I do want to point out, there is a difference between like mandated services and non-mandated services.
Correct.
And Parks and Recreation is not considered a mandated service the way that like Sheriff's Department, Health and Human Services. However, this administration, and I would say commission and community as a whole, very much values, appreciates, and uplifts the improved quality of life that parks bring to our community. And I feel that from administration, from you all, and from community, so that's the way.
Well, it's the fact that they have not mandated, but they have had a resolution that supports this board
Yes.
and started this board shows their support for Parks and Recreation. Really, really important. Okay, Joseph, follow that.
All right. All right, well, as you probably saw coming in, the new restroom, they tore up the old one over there and, that kind of corner lot there. They've done all the plumbing, they need to do and the electrical setup. They're just waiting on the 3-5 building to be done. They're still thinking end of May was the last I heard was done production, but then they still have to get it here, get a crane and drop it in place and then tie everything in. So still looking at end of June probably for everything and it to be opened to the public. The other building, new restroom is at the sports park. If you've been out there, you see they have their construction fencing up and they're starting work on that. They did run into the ground issue where it's super soft up there. So they're gonna have to do a little bit of changes with that, but they're still thinking, they have that stick fill done in probably 6 months, so. And then also at the sports park, when we're talking about that, we planted the pollinator garden yesterday on that bank. So a lot of climbing up and down a steep bank, but thanks to most of the people here, we got it done, so. And it was about 2,000 plants we planted yesterday, so, fun project, good team building. And then, also when you drove in, you probably saw the sand pit, the play area. We're putting in new drainage there, putting a fresh new layer of sand. And then also addressing the hill there, adding some steps to make it a little bit safer for kids running from that playground to the sand pit, something they can actually walk down now. And he'll be done by the end of today with that one, so it's exciting. The turf project, which she kind of touched on earlier, is one of the funded projects for next year. And we sent that RFQ out on Monday. So basically, RFQ is to select a designer to start working on those fields. And that's being funded mostly by TDA funds, but the county did put the funds forward for design, so. That one's moving along, that will be open till the end of the month. So hopefully we get some good designers that submit, and then we can go through the interview process and select a firm to do the designs. Also coming out at the end of the month is another RFQ for Ferry Road. And this is also funded by TDA lift funds. And that's gonna be just focusing on the recreational aspect right now. So it's gonna be about 1.7 miles of greenway, 1.9 miles of trails. And then some kind of walk features once you get close to the river. That one, we're probably gonna have to phase it in relation to the actual development of Ferry Road. So right now, we're really focusing on getting designs for everything and hopefully moving forward with construction for the greenway section alongside the river.
Would that potentially go in before they found a contractor for the community?
It's gonna be two separate contractors, yeah. So we can go ahead and start, after we get design, we can bid it out and we can move forward with the greenway. And they're gonna be moving forward with their kind of roadway project, getting access in, and then also the development is gonna come along later.
Yeah, and actually the development aspect of it, in terms of like, affordable housing, market rate housing, all that jazz. It's our understanding that that's actually gonna be held or completed by separate designers, developers as well. So not only separate from the recreation component of it, but separate within themselves.
Okay.
So there's like 4 different kind of development typologies within the actual development itself, and that would be different contracts
And
as
as
well.
far as like the greenways and the trails go, have we worked with, or are we in communication with Biltmore Farms about that connection between the Buncombe County or the French Broad River put in and
Yeah, that's something we're gonna be looking at through this process of design. We actually wanna be able to connect it to that bridge that goes across. And then eventually there would be a trail, hopefully on the other side of that bridge, to continue through the Biltmore Farms property over there.
But so me and Joseph are just now getting kind of involved with this project, but there has been communication with Biltmore Farms and it's a positive communication.
Cool.
So, yeah, they're pro greenway so far, so.
So you're talking about going from Ferry Road across the new bridge and then.
Continue on eventually one day.
Farms.
Mhm, mhm.
There's a
But
few.
this particular project is only on the Ferry Road property,
Yeah.
connecting to that bridge point.
Mhm.
To the bridge.
Yeah.
So there's a couple main, objectives of the greenway portion. And conservation is at the heart of what we're doing. Ensuring that conserving land, providing education for the conserved lands. But really the main, the connectivity that we're discussing right now truly is at the forefront of what the project is. And so it's not only connectivity into the community that is ultimately gonna wind up being built, but that connectivity that we're discussing into Bent Creek and really focusing on how we can make that piece come to fruition. And then we can have conversations at a later date about other potential connections, but really solidifying that connection all the way down the property along the river across.
then is that, so that project's not coming out of Parks and Rec budget, is it?
No, it was, TDA lift funds.
Cool.
Yeah, it's part of the list.
And so that $4 million is for construction
Designing
of both
construction.
natural surface trails and paved trails?
Yes, but
Are they together or? are they-
we're gonna have to separate it because those natural trails, we don't know where to connect them to until the development is finished. So we also don't wanna build trails that are gonna be destroyed by development plans. So right now, the greenway is the only section we feel safe about because
Paved
it's
to paved.
the paved section, but we are gonna try to get design for both. So that we know, we can also work with whoever development is, so that we don't work on top of each other in a damaging way. So.
And once we get to a certain point in design, just like these other projects, we will come back to you all to show you where we're at, to answer any questions and take any suggestions or thoughts that you have.
Yeah, and just to mention, like, conservation is also a huge part of that. You mentioned connection, but conservation was a huge part Equinox has been out there doing their environmental surveys and stuff. It's our understanding there's some, some potential like salamander habitat that we don't want to disturb and stuff like that, so. All of that's being considered, but we're like, me and Joseph in our department really are really on the front end of kind of understanding what this is. Super excited to be able to like move forward with it. But yeah, once we have more details on all of it, and bring it forward, like Allison said, I'll get.
Just one more.
Yeah.
How many miles would be on Biltmore Farms?
Right now, it wouldn't be much at all. I think we did that little calculation, and there's actually also a city of Asheville piece of land. They're supportive of the Greenway being there as well. But in total, between Biltmore Farms and the city of Asheville, I believe it was around 0.2 miles. I think.
But that Biltmore Farms probably just like rezone. There are plans to get to the interstate exit there, so I think Biltmore Farms has big plans for that area, and the Greenway would likely be there.
Yeah, and something that might be causing a little confusion right now is like the Ferry Road property actually has a tail. The parcel has a tail that goes like really far down, like the river. So hopefully the Greenway can stay in that kind of tail of property along the river as long as possible. And that's why the actual connection piece to the bridge is only 0.2 miles. Yeah.
And a big thing also that we're hiring a firm to help us do is community outreach during the design process. So we'll definitely let you guys know when those meetings are happening in the community. 'Cause I think there's different thoughts of what's going on at Ferry Road, especially for people that live in that area, so. Yeah. But yeah, so that's exciting stuff. And then the guardrails, we ordered some guardrail that we're gonna install at the sports park. Not too exciting. I don't know how to put a spin on that. But, yeah, so, and with the most boring aspect.
Save it for last.
Yeah.
Thank you. It reminds me of a story they used to tell when they were building schools. They'd say, don't pave any sidewalks, just see where the children walk and then pave the. So. One thing I want all of us to think about all the time is that these, I always want to say these young people, everybody in here is young people to me, but they don't, this is not an 8 to 5 job they have. If you come to Lake Julian in the evening, or if you're in coming 4th of July and see what they're doing for that display, or the Christmas lights, or the kids fishing tournament, or the Special Olympics, or any of these programs and events that these folks put on, this is not a 8 to 5 job, and what never was a 9 to 5 job. But they work all the time, and what has really amazed me lately when I've been around them is how nicely they work together. Whether it's directing traffic, or whether it's whatever they have to do, they pull together to make it happen. And I think we need to remember that how nicely this staff works together. And it's not a lot of it is due to the 2 young men that you just heard right now. They came with very special credentials. Allison came with very special credentials. I mean, they just filled in the solid base that we already had in this department. I'm gonna stop bragging on y'all in just a minute. It really, really makes me proud. Now let's talk about programming and events and that.
All right, so.
As long as the dog park's open, I'm okay. Is it? I don't want to hear it.
The rain is helping. The rain is-
I know.
So the first thing on there, obviously, we had Special Olympic Spring Games, I think 2 weeks ago now it was, on May 2nd, we had over 550 athletes from across the county, schools, city schools, and just day programs. And then on top of that, each of those athletes gets a buddy, so there's 1,000 people right there, and then just probably a little over 100 volunteers and then spectators, so probably tapped out, we said 1,800 lunches that we gave out that day. So it's a huge event. It's an awesome event. It went well this year. It was super sunny and hot. So but yeah, it was good. And then our swimming pools, they are slated to open on Memorial Day weekend, and they're gonna be. Open on weekends only up until school gets out, which is June 10th, I think. And then once schools gets out, they'll be open until. I think mid-August, and then our Irwin pool stays open until about Labor Day. But that's the only one that stays open until Labor Day. So, and we've got a good relationship with Asheville Swim Club management. And they take care of the lifeguards and staffing those places, and then general services crew takes care of taking care of the pool, and then we're kind of like a middleman to, yeah. So, awesome, our core programming is starting up in June. And for those of you that don't know what core programming is, CORE stands for Community Outreach and Recreational Experiences. In my little van out there, that's the core van. I packed that thing full of just activities that we have. We've got foam blocks, dog balls, rider bikes. Pack that full and take it out to communities that are pretty rural. We go out to Sandy Musk Community Center, Big Ivy Community Center. We're going to Lester Community Center this year. And then we also go to our parks as well. So that's just, we've gotten nice things have been said about that programming ever since we started up. So we're looking to continue that and continue our partnership with those places. So next, we've got the family camp out coming up, which is one of my favorite programs that we do. We do 2 of those a year, and we close down Lake Julian for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We allow first-time family campers to come in. We have activities for them to do, and then we cook them dinner, and then we provide them with a light breakfast on Sunday morning. And we've got 30, we open it to 30 families, and we're already at halfway capacity for that event. So we've still got a couple weeks of registration to go. So, yeah. I'll pass it to Matt to talk about the kids fishing tournament.
Yeah, so we just finished our second of the spring. We do one kids fishing tournament at Owen Park here at Julian. We had good turnout for both of them. We had around 74 kids at Owen, which is very big for Owen. And here we had around 50, I think it was like 48 just last Saturday. So that's always it's been a standard event that we've done for as long as I've been here. It's an easy one for us to, we know how to do it. We think we do it pretty well. And kids always seem to have a really good time with it. Last couple of years, we've had the grand prize is a kayak that's donated to us from a local kayaking company. Feel free kayaks and waterways. So for the whole stage.
How old can you be?
If you find somebody under 15, that's good at fishing. But yeah, it's so that's really been cool to see how our prizes have changed. But yeah, we just finished those up in August out here at the lake. And then our next big one here at Lake Julian is we're calling it the Independence Day celebration this year. Due to some unforeseen circumstances with our fireworks supplier, we had to shift a little bit. Our fireworks will not be on the 4th this year. They'll actually be on June 29th, which is the Saturday prior.
Ahead of everybody.
Exactly. We're saying we're so patriotic we can't be.
I love
Yeah,
it.
that's our spin zone. But so yeah, we're working on getting everything ready for that right now. It's got some contract stuff figured out with fireworks.
That will get people so confused. Y'all like this up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty.
Do everything you can to let people know, because the 4th of July at Lake Julian is definitely a family tradition. And Matt worked very hard to keep it on the 4th, but as he said, some unforeseen circumstances with a new vendor, so we'll be really pushing out that new date.
So it's 1 week prior. It's the Saturday prior. 4th, I think, is the Thursday. Yeah. So Yeah, we roll with the punches, as
Always.
long as we're having fun, that's really our goal, so. Yeah, so that's our big, that's our big, our next big event we're looking forward to. It's weird how how it feels to me with our staffing. It kind of ramps up to the fourth, like it's busy. And it feels like it kind of calms down because people start going back to school. And the next thing you know, we're putting on Christmas
I
lights.
know,
So,
that's true.
yeah, so.
That's all right.
Yeah, before we move on, I want
Yes,
to hit on one more thing that I forgot to mention, well, maybe two more things. Special Olympics, so our year-round athletes, we have year-round athletes that practice all year, in different sports. And they're actually going to, summer games, June 1st and June 2nd. We've got our 2 gymnastics teams going and our swimming team and our bowling team. And that's where they go and compete with other, Special Olympics counties, for medals and stuff. So, and then we also have our kickball, adult co-ed kickball league coming up in June. So,
Thank you very much. I know you all are aware of the fact that so much of what we do in any form of government has to do with grants and, that's really important. And Adam's gonna tell us about the community.
Yes. I firstly thank you to Kevin and Andy for being part of the committee reviewing the grants, which have just been finished, and we've finalized our recommendations. I can't release the list just yet, because there are more phases to go through. It's in legal's hands right now, and they're looking over the proposals and making sure there's nothing we can't get involved with. And after that, we do have to communicate with the people we've recommended, and they have to provide the award. So if they're unable to provide that, so there is potential for shakeups from the list that we've got right now. But it was a very good batch, and we're very happy with the organizations that look like they will probably be in the future.
Thank you. And as we've said, and excuse me for interrupting you, we said at other meetings, it may be a small amount of money in the big scheme of things, but in so many of these community organizations, it's a lifeline. So it's really very, very important.
And one good thing that came out of this particular year is we kind of had a roundtable at the end, and we discussed ways we could improve the community rec grants going forward, like having like one thing, for instance, that was discussed was the possibility of weighing applicants who had smaller budgets and who couldn't possibly do their project without our funding. But that does involve a lot of discussions. There is a limited pool, so if we put too many restrictions on it, it might there are pros and cons. But it was definitely very welcome discussion. Clear effects become not strong.
And Adam, how many applicants and how many awards did we give?
We had 30 applicants in total, and we have awarded 18 positions.
Just want to get it. You kind of say yes.
It would be nice.
Hard somewhere, it's like.
It's to me, and I was very impressed with what people were doing with that small amount of money, but so it seemed like some of them were only tangentially related to recreation. And I wonder how that plays out.
Yes, that is another, in our discussions, like, the example I gave, in addition to that, there was there's also discussion to be made about firming up the language of what can and cannot be requested. If we make that list too long, or go too broad, we might cut out some organizations that are on the border that might have been, so again, we gotta be careful, but at the same time, there are some things that we put at the list, like, for instance, like people wanting money to give out prizes, and again, that's something that we, that's not recreation related. But again, we'll want to have discussions about that, because maybe, even though that doesn't seem very recreation related, maybe the event itself, maybe a lot of reviewers really do like that. Maybe we're shooting ourselves in the foot. That's just conversations we want.
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking was, how much money are they getting from other places as well? Or is this the only source that they?
I mean, in that instance, it's actually kind of hard to tell, because, you know, they may be putting out applications to other organizations and we simply don't know. We do have a lot of grants inside the county, and we do coordinate with the other grant programs, because some organizations will ask two different. So we do a lot of coordination to make sure there aren't redundancies. But in the instance of them asking outside of Buncombe County, that's just something we can really.
Is there a place on the application that asks if they've applied for other grants from other sources?
Indeed, yeah, and in fact, there was a grant this year that had that exact, that came up, one organization claimed they made the same ask to another. And I brought that up to our, the grants department in the county, and they actually hadn't had that issue come up with them yet. Yeah, so had they won, there would have had to have been a follow-up, and we would have had to reach out to that organization to find out what they want and, like, you know, figure out how to handle it. They were not one of the ones recommended to move forward, so we kind of dodged that issue this time. But the thing of it is, we only know about that because on their application, they volunteered that information. Other organizations very well just not write that down because they, you know, even if we ask it and we give that, we ask them to provide that information, they could, you know, simply withhold it, if they don't want, you know, so that's not in their interest to disclose it.
Any other questions or comments, Adam or Adam?
I think that covers.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is the advisory board bylaws, and I'm gonna make an executive decision here. My email has been down, and I have an idea that I've gotten responses from all of you, and I just did not record them. I'm saying that we will take this up at the next meeting, but I'm asking if we can, with the director's permission, change the one statement in here that has to do with when we meet. And if it could read, the Recreation Advisory Board shall hold bi-monthly meetings at noon at a place to be determined. And take out the information in here about it being held at your headquarters at 5:30. So that takes that out of the mix altogether. You get that on the record.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so if we could note in the minutes that if people could look at the bylaws, and if anything jumps out at you that you see needs changing, if you could, my email's back up now, if you could send me that information, we'll take it up at the next meeting. Any objections to that? Thank you very much. Adam, I think you're up.
I am. Yeah, last meeting, we had the question about our funding sources. So this is just kind of a broad overview. If you want to flip over your minutes or look at the other page. So this is kind of like a general outline. It will vary year from year, but a general outline of where we get our funding. Most all of it is from, you know, the taxpayer, our general fund, and we get it in the form of about $900,000 for discretionary spending, which is our money to, you know, purchase office supplies, supplies, building and ground maintenance, and that's just our budget to spend on the things we need throughout the year. And we get about 1.6 million in non-discretionary spending, and that's money in our budget for people's salaries, insurance and various utilities, things we don't choose to spend, but that are necessary funds to keep it. And a bulk of the money is actually money devoted to our capital projects, like the greenways and the turf fields for the sports park and things like that. The county does contribute about 2.5 million to those funds, but there's 21.5 million, and that comes from the TDA and the DOT. So a majority of our funds actually is TDA funded for our projects, more so than the county. That skews a little heavier TDA.
Yeah, those numbers are not annual numbers.
That's a snapshot of this year, but like next, they will vary, but that is what is in the budget currently.
I'll say they're not annual.
So I mean, forget, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but those first two are annual numbers.
Yes.
The next two are just like kind of what we have on the books to cover costs of current projects.
Correct, yeah, those aren't reoccurring, yeah, those like, yeah, it's
Twenty
exactly.
twenty-five, those numbers. Drastic.
Exactly, yeah. The first two numbers, that is our annual budget, and so that will reoccur annually and it should be. Well, ideally, it would be more than, but you know, the county fights it, is fighting us to keep it at exactly that, but those last two are.
Is the county contribution to capital projects, is that recurring or is, like, my assumption is that TDA and DOT funds are like hard fought. You're fighting for those for every project you have. The county contribution, did they have kind of like set or every year they're contributing against dollars or is it?
So what we're working on right now is, it's a CIP capital improvement program. We're working on a 5 to 10 year CIP with, Buncombe County as a whole. And so there is a group of folks, I am on that committee, that come together to look at all of the capital projects that are being proposed throughout the county and then to prioritize them throughout the years, 5 to 10 years from now. And so that's a collaborative scoring effort that goes on internally. And so there's a constant turnover of when those projects are slated and then when they actually happen from year to year.
So that funding isn't necessarily awarded every year, it's awarded, you know, based on the projects.
I do want to take the opportunity to know that I'm on here next to him and talk about other potential funding is that the TDA has been a wonderful supporter of ours and they have two sources of funding that we have been able to tap into, and that is the tourism development product from the TPDF fund, and then they have these new LIFT funds. And those funds are amazing because they will fund maintenance of projects as well as design, whereas TPDF funding does not support those. So the LIFT funds, as we talked about earlier, were obtained for the recreation component of Ferry Road. And so we have really good partners in relationship there with the TDA. With the DOT, we have certain funds that are allocated out through certain years. One of the reasons that it takes as long as it does for greenways to be built is that there is a very methodical process and a methodical way in which greenways must be funded utilizing federal funds. And that is the process that Thomas has so eloquently been undertaking the past year, working with us. We're also looking at potential other funding sources. There are accessibility grants, one of which Joseph has been working on to obtain a grant for potential fully accessible playground out at the Buncombe County Sports Park. We also have what's known as PARTIF grants. Those are Parks and Recreation grants that happen through the nation that we can apply for. Currently, we are also waiting to hear if we are accepted to apply for what is known as an ORLIP grant, Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Grant. And that would be to help fund the final acquisition of the deed review property. And so there are various ways that we work with community partners and other funders in order to fund our projects. And we're really working hard right now to create a system and a strategy for when we apply and how we apply. And so as that strategy gets developed, we'll be sure to check in with you all to let you know where we're at. I did forget to inform you and wanted to do so now. We will be going to, if you've been keeping up with commission, we went and I asked about permission to apply for the ORLIP grant, at which point permission was given to do that. And that piece of property would become a county property if it was to be obtained in such a manner. And there was a desire from some commissioners to come back with a potential for what bond funds would be needed to potentially be on reserve for the deed review and Ferry Road projects to bring those components forward. And so we'll be going to commission with and ask to just kind of set aside potential bond funds if they choose to prioritize those two projects. And so that will be slated for next Tuesday. Jill Carter and I will be at commission bringing that forward. So just wanted to make you aware of some things that are on the rise.
I said it's my 9 to 5. This is midnight work that this young lady's on. And it's so important that there be this coordination because funding comes from so many sources. And you have to be nimble, you have to know when it's due, you have to know what the plan is, you have to know the people to talk to. And you have to get people around you who can write the grants. It is amazing. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. And this group right here it's got their head above water, treading like heck below the water, but they got their head. It's more
Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership. It's a federal grant. It's very competitive. And we are working with the state to apply for that grant. So we work in coordination with the state of North Carolina on that grant.
They have to apply.
Yes. Yeah, across the state and across the nation. Yeah, as well as other potential within the state.
Thank you, Alice.
Yes.
Any announcements from the advisory board? Next meeting. July.
Yeah. I did have an announcement, or I apologize. Ally Howell, who has been on this board, has had to resign her position on this board. Just received an email. And so we will be looking to replace that, be working in coordination with you, Carol and Adam, to look at the districts that are currently covered and where we need to target, what district we need to target to bring on a couple of new advisory board members. We'll have 2 vacancies.
Thank you. We'll miss her.
Yes,
Sad to hear.
appreciate her dedication.
Any other announcements? Anyone? The mouse and there's somebody. Yeah, somebody. Oh, I just over there. Well, it's been interesting, informative, and we love Lynn Kutcher. Hey.
I've enjoyed working with each and every one of you. So appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Keep supporting these parks people.
It is.
We'll have to see what district it is.
There you go. I do not, because I was just telling Adam on the way out here when they changed districts again. I have to look at it.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
do you have a motion?
Oh, yeah, ma'am. I make a motion we adjourn.
Second, Thank you.